Hey Steelers fans, let's get right into it, because what unfolded at Acure Stadium yesterday was far more than just another game. It wasn't about the score, it wasn't about the 3 hours of action on the field, and it certainly wasn't about that single event itself. Bills' 26-7 victory over the Steelers is just one moment in a much larger story. And if you try to reduce it to a single scoreboard, you're missing the bigger picture entirely. The losses we've endured in the past might have been more uneven, more chaotic, and less disciplined, yet none of those moments carried the weight of what fans have witnessed over the past decade and almost 20 years under a single head coach. Tomlin has been at the helm for so long that it feels like the patience of the city has finally reached its limit. The energy in the stadium yesterday reflected that frustration in every possible way. Fans booed, loudly and deliberately, and it wasn't just because of a single play or the outcome of the game. The infamous playing of Renegade while the Steelers were down 16 points in the fourth quarter could not have come at a worse time. Whether it was accidental or an attempt to quiet the crowd, it backfired spectacularly. The fans drowned it out with sheer volume, and that reaction wasn't just warranted, it was inevitable. For nearly a decade, they have endured seasons without playoff appearances, and over the years, they've watched a team that once held promise become trapped in mediocrity under a coach whose methods have long outlived their effectiveness. People outside Pittsburgh, the so-called analysts who cover the NFL from afar, don't get it. They don't understand what it's like to be in these stands, to live through the highs and lows of this team every single week. They see a streak of non-losing seasons and call it a success, completely missing the point. They talk about Tomlin's popularity as if it's universal, but the truth is far more complicated. Their narratives don't resonate because they aren't here, they don't know the city, and they don't understand the culture of Steelers football. The local fans, the ones sitting in the yellow seats, the people who have been there through thick and thin, they know what's really going on. And yesterday, those fans spoke louder than anyone else ever could. There is a power in being present, in being part of the crowd that has supported this team through decades of heartbreak and hope. Fans are not passive observers. They're the heart of this franchise. When they start chanting, when they make their displeasure clear, they change the conversation. We've seen it before with other teams in Pittsburgh. Years ago, Penguins fans made their voices heard, demanding accountability from management, and eventually, changes were made because the fans would not be ignored. Yesterday, at the Steelers game, the same spirit was alive and unmistakable. Chants for accountability, expressions of frustration, and visible dissatisfaction were all on display, showing that this city is done with excuses and empty promises. And it wasn't just about one player or one play. Kenny Gainwell's handoff on 4th and 2, following a botched blocking scheme on 3rd and 9, became a breaking point. It was emblematic of a deeper issue, of repeated mistakes and decisions that fans have been witnessing far too often. This frustration was not abstract. It was grounded in reality, in the tangible moments on the field that reflect broader problems with strategy, execution, and accountability. Once the chants began, once the music tried to silence the discontent, the fans made their voices heard, louder than ever. This was not social media outrage or online petitions. This was the collective voice of a city demanding better, a community expressing the culmination of years of disappointment and unmet expectations. What happened yesterday was a statement. It was a civic moment, a reminder that fan loyalty is not unconditional when repeated mistakes and stagnation persist. The fans were not there for a spectacle or a performance. They were there to hold the team accountable, to assert that their voice matters and that this team cannot ignore the passion and the expectations of the city it represents. When you are part of that crowd, when you sit in those yellow seats and witness the highs and lows firsthand, you feel a connection that no media analysis or national commentary can replicate. This is real, and it matters. The response from leadership, or rather the lack of a meaningful response, only added to the tension. Press conferences, answers delivered without substance, and a sense that the team's leadership was disconnected from the fans' reality further fueled the dissatisfaction. The contrast was stark when compared to players who provided honest and thoughtful reflections on the game. The difference was not just in the words, but in the recognition of the audience, the acknowledgement of those who care most about the franchise. Yesterday, it became crystal clear that the priority of the fans surpasses all else. Their expectations cannot be dismissed or minimized. Throughout the game and into the post-game interactions, the city's voice was loud and unmistakable. The frustration, the chants, the boos, they were not fleeting emotions, but the product of years of devotion meeting repeated disappointment. This isn't just about anger or criticism. It's about a community invested in a team, holding it accountable for every misstep and demanding a standard that had been long overdue. Every play, every decision, every moment of inaction contributed to the narrative that unfolded, culminating in a day where the fans asserted, in unison, that their patience has limits and their expectations are non-negotiable. Fans showed that they are more than spectators. They are participants, stakeholders in the culture and identity of this franchise. When the chants started and the boos rang out, it was not mere dissent. It was a declaration of agency. The message was clear. The city cares, it has always cared, and it will not tolerate complacency. That collective voice has power, proven repeatedly across Pittsburgh sports history. Yesterday, the Steelers crowd reminded everyone that fandom is not passive. It is active, demanding, and deeply consequential. This is the heartbeat of Steelers Nation, and it reverberates far beyond the stadium walls, shaping the expectations, the accountability, and the very culture of the team. As the game faded into the memory of the stadium lights, the echoes of yesterday's crowd lingered in every corner of Pittsburgh. This was not just another Sunday. It was a statement, a culmination of years of devotion, frustration, and unwavering loyalty. The fans in those yellow seats were not passive participants. They were the conscience of the team, demanding recognition and respect. They reminded everyone watching, listening, and reading that true fandom is measured not by mere attendance, but by the intensity of the engagement and the willingness to demand accountability. That intensity cannot be replicated in tweets, posts, or headlines. It exists in the physical space where the team and its supporters intersect, where hope and disappointment collide in real time, and where the heart of Steelers Nation beats strongest. The reaction to Tomlin's leadership during the game and in the post-game moments was emblematic of a much larger pattern. It was not a sudden outburst born out of frustration over one loss. It was decades of repeated missteps, strategic stagnation, and a sense of complacency that had slowly eroded the trust and patience of the city. Fans have tolerated mediocrity for far too long, and yesterday, they made it clear that the era of polite acceptance is over. The boos, the chants, and the palpable tension were not directed at the players individually, nor were they aimed at a single misplay. They were aimed at a system that has allowed repeated failures to persist, a leadership that has overstayed its welcome, and a culture that no longer reflects the standards and expectations of the people who have supported this franchise through generations. It is easy for outsiders to misunderstand the nature of this reaction. National commentators, analysts from afar, and casual observers might reduce the event to a single disappointing game. Yet the truth is far more nuanced. The frustration stems from a deep, historical knowledge of what this team represents and what it has the potential to achieve. Fans are intimately familiar with both the highs and the lows, and they see patterns that outsiders cannot. They remember seasons of near triumphs, moments when the team fell short despite immense talent and effort, and the decisions that repeatedly prevented the Steelers from reaching their potential. These patterns have shaped a collective awareness, one that demands accountability, action, and respect from those entrusted with leading the team. Every detail of yesterday's game contributed to this reckoning. The mismanaged plays, questionable coaching decisions, and the timing of in-game entertainment were not isolated incidents. They were symbolic of a larger disconnect between the organization and the fans. The infamous playing of Renegade while the Steelers trailed by 16 points in the fourth quarter became a flashpoint, a tangible moment where frustration intersected with symbolism. Whether accidental or intentional, It highlighted the extent to which fans have grown tired of being undervalued, unheard, or dismissed. Their reaction was a powerful assertion of agency, a reminder that they are not passive consumers of a product, but active participants in the life of the team and its culture. The influence of the fans cannot be understated. As history has shown, vocal, organized, and passionate supporters have the ability to affect real change. The Penguins' example with management decisions years ago proves that when the collective voice of the city rises, it cannot be ignored. Yesterday, the Steelers crowd demonstrated that this principle applies equally to football. The chants, boos, and visible dissatisfaction were not mere expressions of anger. They were a form of civic engagement, a collective demand for accountability that reverberates far beyond the stadium and into the organizational decision-making process. Fans reminded the team that loyalty is not blind. It is conditional upon respect, effort, and the pursuit of excellence. The impact of this fan-driven movement goes beyond the stadium walls. It sets a precedent, a clear signal that the culture of the team must align with the values and expectations of the community it represents. The fans' engagement is not performative. It is a reflection of their deep connection to the franchise and their unwavering commitment to its success. By standing together, vocalizing dissatisfaction, and demanding accountability, they demonstrate that Steelers Nation is not merely a collection of spectators. It is an active, influential force capable of shaping the trajectory of the team. Even individual interactions during and after the game reflect this dynamic. The contrast between players who provide thoughtful, honest insights and leadership that offers minimal, non-committal responses underscores the tension between the organization and its supporters. Fans recognize authenticity and they respond to it. Attempts to sidestep, evade, or minimize legitimate concerns only deepen frustration and reinforce the perception that leadership is disconnected from the people it serves. Yesterday, that disconnection became painfully evident, and the fans responded accordingly. Their voices were not just heard. They were undeniable, echoing through the stadium and sending a clear message about their expectations for accountability, transparency, and effort. This moment also highlights the importance of presence and participation. True engagement comes from being in the stands, experiencing the game firsthand, and connecting with the energy of those around you. It is in these physical spaces that passion is amplified, collective memory is created, and meaningful action is sparked. The chants, boos, and visible displays of frustration yesterday were not isolated incidents. They were part of a continuum of engagement that has defined Steelers fandom for decades. This kind of participation shapes the culture of the team, influences decision-making, and holds leadership accountable in a way that cannot be replicated online or from afar. The events of yesterday serve as a reminder of the power of fandom when it is rooted in history, passion, and accountability. Fans have the ability to influence, to demand better, and to shape the culture and future of the franchise. Their reactions are grounded in deep knowledge of the team's history, a commitment to excellence, and a refusal to accept mediocrity. By vocalizing their frustrations and asserting their expectations, they demonstrate the critical role that supporters play in maintaining the integrity, performance, and values of the team. Steelers Nation is more than a fan base. It is a living, breathing entity capable of affecting real change and holding everyone accountable to the standards that this city has long demanded. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Mike Tomlin's name echoed through the corridors beneath Acrisure Stadium long after the lights dimmed, but not in the calm, calculated tone familiar to Steelers insiders. According to several people close to the situation, the longtime Pittsburgh head coach reportedly Batu Mesa slammed his hand down during a closed-door meeting, sparking a wave of murmurs that has spread across the city like wildfire. What was said remains locked behind steel doors, but the message, insiders claim, was unmistakable. There must be changes in Pittsburgh. Tomlin, The 16th head coach in franchise history and the man who has guided the team since 2007 is known for his steadiness, for never blinking, for projecting control even while storms swirl around him. That is why this reported outburst has caught the attention of players, staff, and fans alike. Some describe the atmosphere afterward as electric, others as tense, but all agree that something shifted. Rumor has it that Tomlin's frustration wasn't aimed at any single player or coach, but at a collective stagnation he refuses to accept. Those close to the locker room whisper about potential shakeups, adjustments in roles, unexpected lineup changes, and even the possibility of bringing in outside voices to jolt the team awake. While nothing has been confirmed, the sense is that Tomlin believes the Steelers have drifted too far from the identity he has spent nearly 2 decades building. The players reportedly left the room quieter than usual, avoiding eye contact with reporters, moving with the kind of focus that only follows a shockwave. One veteran was overheard telling a teammate that this felt different, while another hinted that everyone got the message. In Pittsburgh, whispers have a way of becoming roars. And this image of Tomlin slamming the table and demanding change, might be the spark that transforms a turbulent moment into a turning point. Whether these rumblings lead to dramatic action or simply light a fire beneath the roster, one thing is clear. The Steelers' next chapter may already be in motion, written not on the field, but behind a closed door by a coach who has had enough. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.